path to wealth building, keeping in mind the growing numbers of young Americans who own digital assets. Senate Democrats have raised concerns over the idea that crypto could play a role in mortgage lending. 5 members of the upper chamber sent a letter to Director Pulte, warning him of the volatility risks for crypto and requesting more information on the agency's...
The whispers about the World Bank quietly aligning with certain cryptocurrencies have been circling for years. Most of the time, these rumors get dismissed as wild speculation from crypto Twitter or YouTube hype channels, but when you actually dig into the World Bank's history with distributed ledger technology, DLT, the picture becomes a lot more interesting. The World Bank is not a retail-driven organization chasing the latest meme coin pump. Its function is systemic. It operates at the level of sovereign nations, financing development projects, stabilizing economies, and providing funding in areas where commercial banks often hesitate to step in. If the World Bank has a problem with efficiency, settlement speed, or transparency, it isn't just a minor inconvenience. It's a global-scale bottleneck. This is why the idea that the World Bank may be testing or considering solutions involving Hedera, HBAR, Stellar XLM, and Ripple's XRP refuses to go away. It isn't just because these tokens are popular in the crypto space. It's because their specific designs map neatly onto the pain points that institutions like the World Bank have struggled with for decades. To understand how this rumor even started, you have to go back to 2018. That was the year the World Bank issued Bondi, the first bond to be created, allocated, transferred, and managed entirely on a blockchain. The platform wasn't Hedera or Stellar or Ripple. It was a private Ethereum-based system designed in collaboration with the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. But Bondi proved a point: the World Bank wasn't just willing to explore blockchain, it was willing to issue a multi-million-dollar debt instrument on it. That precedent became a signal flare for the crypto world. If they would do this once, why not more? And if they were looking at blockchain beyond a proof of concept, which networks had the capabilities to handle the complexity of global financing, not just retail speculation? The rumor about the triple stack, HBAR, XLM, and XRP, comes from the intersection of 3 separate narratives. First, Hedera's growing list of enterprise and government-related council members. When you have Google, IBM, Standard Bank, and even central banks exploring pilots on Hedera, it's not a stretch to imagine that development agencies would also look at the same infrastructure. Second, Stellar's explicit work in the area of financial inclusion. From partnerships with the UN to pilot programs in dispersing aid using stablecoins built on Stellar, the token has always marketed itself as a tool for direct-to-recipient funding. That's the bread and butter of what the World Bank does, ensuring development loans and grants actually reach communities rather than getting lost in bureaucratic middle layers. Third, Ripple's long dance with regulators and banks worldwide. Despite its high-profile battles with the SEC, RippleNet and XRP have remained at the center of conversations about cross-border liquidity. If the World Bank is looking for a solution to multi-currency settlements in developing regions, XRP offers a tested model. The biggest fuel to this rumor, though, comes from the World Bank's own publications. Over the last 5 years, the World Bank has published numerous working papers, blog posts, and technical notes on the potential of blockchain and DLT for development finance. These aren't promotional brochures for crypto, but they read like an academic checklist of everything that HBAR, XLM, and XRP are designed to do. Transparent tracking of funds. Hedera's consensus model excels at immutable, auditable logs. Low-cost remittances. Stellar's entire protocol was built for microtransactions and borderless payments. Liquidity across currencies. Ripple has been pitching that for a decade. It's almost uncanny how these 3 networks map onto the problem sets the World Bank keeps acknowledging in its own reports. That's why so many people suspect there's something deeper going on behind the scenes. The other layer to this rumor comes from the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The World Bank, alongside the UN and IMF, is obsessed with this framework. Every financing project is now tied back to these goals, whether it's poverty reduction, gender equality, climate action, or education. The problem is, financing these goals requires trillions of dollars annually. Funds that need to be tracked, dispersed, and verified with unprecedented efficiency. Paper-based systems and even legacy digital accounting aren't fast enough. That's where blockchain comes in. Imagine an outcome-based financing project where schools in rural Africa only receive additional funds if attendance improves and test scores rise. A smart contract on Hedera could handle that condition, Stellar could handle the disbursement to teachers and families, and XRP could provide the bridge liquidity for cross-border settlements of donor contributions. Suddenly, what looks like three separate networks begins to resemble a single stack of solutions tailored to the World Bank's mission. Of course, the World Bank has never put out a press release saying, "We are using HBAR, XLM, and XRP." These organizations don't operate that way. They pilot, they test, they publish cautious notes about potential, and then they quietly scale if the technology works. That's why conspiracy theories thrive in this space, because the absence of confirmation looks like secrecy, when in reality it's just bureaucratic caution. But when you put the puzzle pieces together, the World Bank's history with blockchain experiments, Hedera's Enterprise Council, Stellar's work with NGOs, Ripple's relentless pursuit of institutional adoption, the picture that emerges is compelling enough to explain why this rumor won't die. In many ways, the triple stack theory feels inevitable. Not inevitable in the sense that the World Bank has already deployed it, but inevitable in the sense that these are the exact tools you'd need if you were designing a system to modernize global development finance. Whether by accident or design, Hedera, Stellar, and Ripple have carved out complementary niches that could slot neatly into a single framework. And once you see the pattern, it's hard to unsee it. That's the spark that's driving this entire conversation. The possibility that these three tokens are not just speculative assets but pieces of a larger, hidden architecture being assembled quietly by some of the world's most powerful institutions. If you zoom in on Hedera's position in this alleged World Bank alignment, the case becomes even more intriguing. Unlike most blockchains, Hedera was never designed to be a free-for-all experiment in decentralization. Instead, it has been carefully constructed around the idea of enterprise and government-grade stability. The governing council model, which includes global giants like Google, IBM, Standard Bank, and universities across multiple continents, gives Hedera a legitimacy that few other networks can claim. This governance design matters because an institution like the World Bank is never going to rely on a blockchain where anonymous validators can hijack consensus or manipulate voting. For the bank to consider adopting any ledger, the credibility and stability of the governance layer is critical. Hedera provides that in a way that aligns neatly with the cautious institutional world the bank operates in. But it's not just governance that makes Hedera attractive. It's the technical backbone. The hashgraph consensus mechanism allows Hedera to process thousands of transactions per second with finality in seconds, all while maintaining low fees. For the World Bank, which may be distributing millions of microtransactions across dozens of countries for development programs, these features aren't just nice to have, they're non-negotiable. Imagine a cash transfer program where families in rural Kenya receive small conditional payments for sending children to school. Each disbursement has to be fast, cheap, transparent, and verifiable. Hedera's consensus service allows the World Bank or its partners to log every transaction immutably, ensuring donor nations know exactly where funds went. This answers one of the biggest criticisms of development finance: leakage, corruption, and inefficiency. One of the strongest arguments for BAR's rumored role is its ability to power outcome-based financing. The World Bank has been experimenting with mechanisms where funds are released only when measurable results are achieved, like improving school attendance, reducing carbon emissions, or expanding healthcare coverage. Smart contracts on Hedera could automate this. A verified data feed could trigger the release of additional funding if the metrics are met, eliminating the need for layers of manual oversight. This approach not only saves money but also builds trust among stakeholders, since performance data and payments are auditable on the ledger. Hedera's ability to integrate such conditional logic with high throughput makes it uniquely suited for this kind of model. Then there's the sustainability angle. The World Bank's 2030 agenda places heavy emphasis on climate-friendly solutions, and one of Hedera's biggest selling points has always been its low-energy consensus. Unlike proof-of-work systems such as Bitcoin, Hedera consumes minimal electricity per transaction. For an institution constantly under pressure to demonstrate green credentials, aligning with a network that already brands itself as carbon negative could be more than just a technical fit, it could be a political one. Put all of this together, and you can see why HBR is often considered the quiet workhorse of this rumor. It doesn't dominate headlines like XRP, nor does it play the humanitarian angle as visibly as Stellar. But behind the scenes, its governance, efficiency, sustainability, and smart contract functionality make it a natural fit for the kind of infrastructural overhaul the World Bank may one day require. When people talk about the World Bank experimenting with blockchain solutions, Stellar almost always comes up in the conversation. Unlike Hedera, which is built with enterprise governance in mind, Stellar has always leaned into its identity as the network for the unbanked. Its primary mission, facilitating cross-border payments and financial inclusion, lines up directly with the World Bank's long-standing agenda to bring financial services to populations excluded from traditional banking systems. This is one reason why many analysts believe Stellar could be the public-facing component of the rumored triple stack involving XRP, HBAR, and XLM. Stellar's strength lies in its ability to move small-value transactions quickly and cheaply. In many low-income regions, families rely on remittances from relatives working abroad. Traditional remittance services can charge fees as high as 10% of the transferred amount, making it an expensive lifeline. With Stellar's network, those transactions can happen in seconds for fractions of a cent. The World Bank, which publishes data on global remittance costs every year, has repeatedly emphasized its goal to reduce remittance costs to below 3%, a target Stellar can help meet. If the bank were to rely on any blockchain to support direct aid distribution or remittance flows, Stellar's track record makes it an obvious candidate. But Stellar isn't just about money movement. The network's integration of tokenized assets and stablecoins expands its functionality. A World Bank program could, for example, issue a tokenized voucher on Stellar redeemable for school fees, food staples, or medical supplies. These tokens could be distributed directly to families through mobile wallets, bypassing corrupt intermediaries and reducing leakage. This kind of programmable aid system fits neatly with the bank's push toward more efficient, accountable aid delivery. The transparency of Stellar's ledger ensures every disbursement can be tracked, audited, and confirmed without relying on opaque intermediaries. Another angle worth considering is Stellar's history of partnerships with major financial institutions and governments. The Stellar Development Foundation has worked with the United Nations, the Ukrainian government, for pilot CBDC projects, and MoneyGram, among others. These real-world rollouts demonstrate that Stellar is not just theory. It has proven itself in humanitarian and institutional contexts. For the World Bank, which operates in some of the world's most fragile economies, this kind of experience matters. The fact that Stellar has already been tested in large-scale aid distribution scenarios gives it an advantage when global organizations weigh blockchain solutions. Finally, Stellar brings something that both XRP and HBAR, for all their strengths, don't emphasize as strongly: grassroots accessibility. While XRP might handle high-volume settlement between banks, and Hedera might power data-driven performance contracts, Stellar can serve the everyday people the World Bank ultimately wants to reach. Its mobile-first design and community-friendly architecture make it well-suited for the last-mile delivery of funds and services. This is why, in the framework of the rumored triple stack, Stellar is often imagined as the hands-on layer, the tool that ensures resources actually reach the intended recipients in real time. When it comes to the World Bank and digital assets, XRP is the coin that always seems to hover at the center of speculation. Unlike Stellar, which shines in grassroots use cases, or Hedera, which positions itself as the enterprise-grade data layer, XRP has consistently branded itself as the bridge currency, a role that could be critical for the World Bank's mission. If the rumored triple stack really exists, XRP's function would likely be to sit at the top of the pyramid, moving value between banks, institutions, and markets at scale. What makes XRP stand out is its original design for liquidity and cross-border settlements. Ripple Labs built the XRP ledger with one specific pain point in mind: the outdated, fragmented SWIFT system that governs global banking. SWIFT messages may be fast, but the actual money movement is slow, requiring Nostro and Vostro accounts that tie up billions of dollars worldwide. XRP was designed to collapse that system, providing instant settlement without requiring institutions to hold pre-funded accounts. For the World Bank, which frequently funds projects in multiple currencies across dozens of countries, this kind of tool would reduce costs, free up liquidity, and speed up disbursements dramatically. For conspiracy watchers, this is why XRP is often labeled the chosen one. Its positioning as a neutral bridge asset, its focus on solving institutional pain points, and Ripple's push into compliance all make it look like a coin designed for a role bigger than retail speculation. And if the World Bank truly is experimenting with blockchain for settlements, XRP's design seems too perfect to ignore. Picture this like a three-layer engine, each protocol handling a piece of the puzzle the others can't solve alone. Hedera's strength lies in its ability to anchor trust. With its governing council of multinational corporations and institutions, it brings legitimacy and security to any digital infrastructure. If the World Bank is serious about deploying blockchain at scale, it needs a foundation that institutions and governments can trust. That's where HBAR enters the picture. Governance, transparency, and an auditable trail for outcome-based projects in areas like healthcare, education, or infrastructure. It becomes the accountability layer. Now imagine Stellar's role on top of that. The World Bank doesn't just need transparency. It needs distribution channels. Billions of people remain underbanked, and aid programs often lose effectiveness because money gets lost, delayed, or siphoned off before it reaches its destination. Stellar is purpose-built for this. Its lightweight, low-cost design allows stablecoins, CBDCs, and digital aid to move directly to mobile wallets, even in regions with fragile banking systems. If Hedera is the trust anchor, Stellar becomes the highway, moving value into the hands of people who need it most. It closes the gap between institutions and individuals. But a system like this still requires a bridge to global liquidity, and that's where XRP fits perfectly. Whether the World Bank is funding infrastructure in Africa, disaster relief in Asia, or educational programs in Latin America, it must move value across multiple currencies quickly and without friction. XRP's design as a bridge asset enables this. Instead of locking capital in Nostro accounts around the world, the bank could leverage XRP for instant settlement, tapping into liquidity pools across global exchanges. That means money moves faster, cheaper, and with fewer intermediaries. When you start layering these functions together, the picture becomes clearer. Hedera provides the trusted reporting and governance layer. Stellar ensures funds actually reach the last mile, bypassing inefficiencies in traditional aid distribution. XRP ties it all back into the global financial system, providing the liquidity backbone needed to scale operations. Each network solves a problem the others can't, and together they form a framework that looks suspiciously close to what the World Bank and similar institutions have been hinting at for years. This is why the rumor has legs. None of these protocols alone could deliver a complete solution for an institution as large and complex as the World Bank. But combined, they represent a stack that checks every box: trust, access, and liquidity. It's not about retail speculation. It's about building a global infrastructure that actually works for development projects in the real world. And whether or not the World Bank is officially piloting this setup today, the alignment of each token's role makes the idea far too compelling to dismiss as coincidence. When you step back and look at the rumor of a World Bank triple stack, it captures the essence of why blockchain excites so many people. HBAR, XLM, and XRP are not random coins. They each solve a different piece of the puzzle. Hedera brings enterprise-grade governance and near-perfect efficiency. Stellar enables seamless cross-border transfers for everyday people and institutions alike. Ripple's XRP Liquidity Hub makes moving large sums across fragmented financial rails not only possible but faster and cheaper than traditional systems. Together, they form a triangle that seems almost designed for the kind of global mission the World Bank champions: financial inclusion, infrastructure, and stability. Whether the rumor is truth, half-truth, or pure speculation, one thing is undeniable: the groundwork is already being laid. Hedera's governing council includes some of the world's largest corporations. Stellar has deep roots with humanitarian organizations and CBDC pilots, and Ripple continues to win both legal and institutional credibility. Even if a formal stack never gets announced, the integration of these technologies into the financial system is already in motion. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We go deep into the rumors, facts, and hidden trends shaping the future of digital finance. Because the truth is, Whether it's HBAR, XLM, XRP, or all three together, the transformation is already underway. You don't want to be the last one to see it coming.